Hello, I am Kimberly Dutton, and I am interviewing Ann Martin. It is June 24th, 2008. Thank you for being interviewed.
Oh, I'm delighted to be able to talk with you.
Okay, for my first question, tell me how you came to live in Ashland.
Well, both my husband and I are natives of Richmond. And when the time came that we had decided it was time to move from Richmond, the only place we looked was north to Ashland. So we brought our family up here. And if you want the date, it was actually 1986. Yeah. So that's how we came.
Have you been to Ashland before that time, or did you know anything about it?
Oh, sure, because, living in Richmond and knowing that Ashland was here and having traveled 95. And even before we moved here, there were times that we came up for a meal or to just explore and to go shopping. And when my girls were about 7 years old, they became interested in riding horses. And so the girl that we started taking lessons with lived in the Ashland area, and so we traveled up here for them to take their riding lessons. So that was another reason that we looked to this area.
Did you prefer this area for education as well?
Oh, definitely the school system was part of it. Since we actually lived in the city of Richmond, we had tried the public school system, but then ended up in private school. So it was delightful when actually Stephanie, by the time we moved here, was a junior. She moved in as a junior at Patrick Henry, and Amy started at Liberty. And the school system, knowing about what a good school system it was certainly clinched it for us as the place that we wanted to move. Mm-hmm.
Are your children still in school?
No, they've actually moved on back in Richmond again. And one is married. The youngest, Amy, is married, has been married a year, and we just learned a month ago that she is expecting, and our first grandchild will be arriving in November. It's going to be a little granddaughter. I don't know her name yet, but anyway, we're excited about that. And Stephanie, our oldest, she lives in the Richmond area, actually in Henrico. So it's wonderful that we continue to have them with us in the area. Besides living in Ashland, another connection that we have to the area is a family farm in Hanover County. And the farm has been part of the family for, oh goodness, must be 40, 50 years now. And so that always has brought us up here into Hanover, all of our lives. And we continue to have the family farm and spend most of our Saturdays there. And the children come. I still call them children. Our daughters come to the farm and help us on Saturdays.
What kinds of things do you grow on the farm?
Well, we have a farmer who actually does the farming, and he'll do soybeans, or now, of course, it's corn. Everybody's growing corn. But I have my own little garden where I will do the typical garden things, the early spring things of the lettuce and the carrots and the radishes and the onions and the beets. And then we'll put in the tomatoes and the squashes and the butter beans and the string beans and the peppers and all those wonderful things. So we do get to have our own Hanover tomatoes because we grow them ourselves. And the farm has been, like I say, a part of the family for a good long time now. And one of the joys is that we've been able to share the farm with others. So we have Boy Scouts who camp out there. A number of years ago, they put an orienteering course through the woods. And so that's out there. In just another week, we'll be having Church Day Camp, which has been a tradition for over 40 years, starting at Barton Heights Church in Richmond, and then Chamberlain Heights Church in Northside Richmond, and now Duncan Memorial here in Ashland has become a part of day camp. And so we'll have somewhere between 100 and 125 people who'll come and spend the day out at the farm during that week. So it's a lot of fun. We have church picnics out there. We just had a picnic with Duncan Memorial out there the first part of June, and we had played games and fished and took tractor rides. And the farm also is bordered by the Pamunkey River, so we can go swimming in the river. And it's just a lot of fun. It's a good place to be. Yeah.
Do you attend church here?
We do. We're members of Duncan Memorial United Methodist Church. Just down the street, we can walk to church. And as I said, it's really nice because, you know, not only we involved in the church, but then the church gets to share the farm with us as well. So,
What do you feel about your church's role in civic affairs in the community?
oh boy, you certainly asked the right person about that. I'm part of the church's social concerns committee. And I guess about 4 or 5 years ago, we started a series that we called Hot Topics. And that's the name of our committee. We're the Hot Topics Committee. And the first focus that we did was the issue of the relationship between the Israelis and the Palestinians. And we did a series of 3 sessions where we looked into the historical context of the conflict that's going on over there. And then the second session dealt with what's going on now, and the more recent history. And then the third session was actually looking at is peace possible, because we call the series Peace is Possible, and taking really the clue from the Northern Ireland. So peace can be possible in strife. Out of strife can come peace. And then we have continued to do all kinds of topics, generally, 3 topics in a year. We're currently looking at this, this fall, we're going to start on the topic of the death penalty and look at it. And when we explore a topic, we try to do it from all the angles. So we do the pros and the cons. So as a Methodist and being part of the Social Concerns Committee, I definitely believe you need to be involved and knowledgeable about what's going on in the world and participate in it. And we do try to not only educate ourselves, but then take it a step further on how can we impact and make changes. So, yeah. Now, as far as Ashland, Ashland is a wonderful place because it does afford any citizen the opportunity to participate. And I have been fortunate enough that, not long after our family arrived in Ashland, I was asked to be part of the Parks and Recreation Committee. And it has been exciting to watch the growth of what has happened in that particular department over the years. One of the first things that we did is that we did a master plan for Parks and Recreation Committee. And our goal was to form a vision of where we wanted the recreational opportunities to be in the town of Ashland. So as a result of that, we started looking at where we wanted to put parks and make sure that a park was available to all sections of Ashland, North Ashland, South Ashland. Wherever you are in Ashland, there would be a park readily available. We also, at that time, that's when we began with getting a civic pool, the Ashland Pool. So when the land at Carter Park became available, and that was through a trade with old Dr. Carter, and we traded some land that he wanted for the land that Carter Park is currently located on, and we began the drive to get the pool going. And also, I guess I should back up and mention that during that time when we were trying to begin, we were starting this vision, we did a survey of the citizens to find out what type of recreational opportunities they'd like to see in the town. So since that time, not only do we have Carter Park, of the parks that were already in existence at that time was DeJarnette Park, which is a passive park, which has the pond, the fishing pond there, and you can go and walk and just kind of commune with nature. But one of the first parks that we as a committee began with, even before Carter Park, was South Taylor Street Park, which just is a little small park there, and it's just gone through renovation where the old equipment has been replaced and new equipment has been put in. So it's come a long way. So then we did the Carter Park, and that's really a focal point for the town. And then Puffer Belly Park, when they built the police station, and that area of land was owned by the town, that provided us the opportunity to put a park there. And it's pretty much geared for your pre-K, kindergarten, first, second graders there. And we were fortunate in that the Kiwanis Club of Ashland partnered with the committee, and that's how we were able to pay for the equipment that went into that park. The Kiwanis Club paid for that. And so that was a gift that they gave to the children of Ashland. Since then, we've also looked at where the town shop is located in North Ashland, and we're hoping someday to get a true park established there. We've got the drawings all done. We've done the research. We've talked to the citizens who live in that community. We know what they want up there. Now it's just a matter of having the funds. So someday that'll be out there in the future. Railside Park. It's just, there's a nice path now that goes along the train tracks that would connect North Ashland Park with, more of the center of town. That was put in by the town under the auspices of the Recreation and Parks Committee. So, and there have been a number of things. We used to sponsor some events that were called, every year we did a day in the park. And that was a lot of fun, where we would have a special day and the citizens would come to the park and we'd have activities going on. I haven't done that for a couple of years and we're missing that. I think we need to do that again. So, like I say, it's been wonderful to be part of the Parks and Rec Committee. It's a love of mine, and I have certainly enjoyed that. Like I say, citizens have the opportunity, if you express an interest, to be invited to be part of the different activities going on. I've been part of the Main Street Association and was president of that for 1 year when we re-established ourselves. I was president that year, and I've also been this year a part of the 150 birthday celebration, the sesquicentennial of Ashland. So that's been fun doing that as well. John Hodges and I have been vice chairman of the history section of the 150 committee. So, and that has been a wonderful undertaking by the town, because not only with just the section that we're involved in under the 150, but the whole big committee and the whole big effort that's going on through this year. I mean, there's so many. I expect there's probably hundreds of people who in one way or another are contributing to making this celebration go on all year long. So it's been pretty phenomenal. Yeah. Is there more you want me to talk about? I mean, I can keep talking about what's going on in 150, but if you want to know any of that, some of the things that our particular section, the history part of it, have been involved in.
Have you come up with any interesting stories while researching the history of Ashland?
Well, not me in particular, but that's the one thing about being kind of in charge of something, is that you get other people who actually do the more detailed work. Under the auspices of the history section that John Hodges and I are involved with, we have been working towards getting the yearbook established, and the individuals who have really been involved in making that effort happen, Betty Carol Stevenson, and it was from Betty Carol that the original idea came, and she got this idea from a paper that she did from the Women's Club, and when she was researching the 15 Ashlands that she wrote about in her paper, and they sent her, when she wrote to them and asked for information, some of them sent her copies of the yearbooks that they had done in their community. And so that was the seed idea for getting our own yearbook going. So Betty Carol Stevenson, along with Susan Tucker, who is actually the official chair of the yearbook committee, are the ones that have led that effort. And I know they have lots of good stories because they've also been editing and reading the stories that have been submitted, and I have talked to so many people who have inquired about the effort, and so they have some really good stories. Another bit that we've been doing that I've kind of been in charge of is Where in Ashland Is This? And Dwayne Berger has been taking photographs around town. Have you talked with Dwayne? no, it's been a fun activity, and he has taken photographs around town of different, little bitty snapshots of things, and then we've been having it posted in around town on 4 different spots, as well as the Herald Progress has run it in every other week. And so it's been fun as people have contributed, their suggestions. We have the box in the library where you can put it in, or you can go online to Town Hound and put your suggestion in as to where you think it is in Ashland, the photograph. So when we began this project, and we focused on the historic downtown area, 1 block north and south of the crossing, and 1 block each side, east and west. And now we're going to be moving to Randolph-Macon. And Dwayne has taken some of the photographs, and so that'll be the next series that we put in. And then when we finish with that, we're going to focus on the parks of Ashland and get people out looking in the parks. So that's how people have their heads up of where to look, because we focus in a particular area. And then on the alternating weeks that we're not doing Where in Ashland Is This, we're doing Did You Knows? And Roseanne Shelf, along with Dale, Tally, thank you. I can't believe I forgot her name, and I just was reading it this morning. Dale have been writing those, and they've been going back and doing a lot of historical research and coming up with some interesting tidbits, and so we're doing the same thing with those. And then I'm trying to think what else. The Oral History Project, of course, comes underneath our committee as well. So and Dale is heading that up, and we're real excited about this effort and the fact that we'll have this as just between the yearbook and having this oral history, we're going to have a wonderful catalog and snapshot of what's been going on in Ashland, not only this year, but hearing people's stories from previous years. Yeah. Ashland is a really, really special town because it's such a mixture of people with college here, and then those who have been here for many years, and then those of us who have moved from other bits of the community into Ashland, and we all just kind of blend quite nicely, I think, and work together because we all love Ashland so much. So.
What do you feel about college involvement in the town?
Oh, I love having the colleges, knowing that is a focal point in the town. It has been fun, I guess, because of being a Duncan Memorial. We have a little bit of contact with students, and just really enjoy that. I also enjoy the opportunities that the college brings to our community with the cultural events and the particular opportunities there. There have been times when we've gone over and heard speakers. Also with our Hot Topics Committee, a number of times we have had college students involved with us, and needless to say, the professors have been a wonderful resource for helping us with our hot topics, and either presenting, at our sessions, or leading us in the direction of who we would go to in the wider community as a resource. So I love having the college here, and one of the things when we first moved here and we still had our dog Maggie, she used to love to go over to the college and chase the squirrels. And occasionally we would have students who would want to stop and talk to Maggie, but Maggie was about chasing squirrels, not talking to students. So yeah, just being able to walk through the college campus is a nice thing to do on a pretty afternoon.
Have you seen any major changes with the campus as you've lived here?
Well, of course, I've seen nice improvements. I can remember, and I'm a newcomer, but one of the things that I remember vividly is College Avenue, and how before it had the curbings in the sidewalk, and so just to see those kind of visual tidying ups, besides the renovation to the, Okay, well, we'll pick up again. It's been wonderful to see the renovations that have gone on to the college over the few years that we've been here. Wash Frank Hall was renovated when not long after we arrived, and it was fun because we have the Christmas house tour, and that particular year that after the renovations were complete, the garden club that I belonged to at that time, Town and Country Garden Club, was asked to decorate the Wash Frank Hall. So we had a wonderful time going in and doing the flowers and making all the Christmas decorations. And then there was, people were invited in to see, and refreshments and all of that. I remember the days when the theater was in the bottom of the chapel. And of course, you used to go to the productions. It was always fun to go there for the productions. But then when they did the renovation of the chapel, and how beautifully that has turned out, and then the other renovations that have gone on. One of my other connections to the college is that we were fortunate in that the college allowed a water aerobics class to go on at the college, and in the even in the old pool. That's where we began. I used to love to go in that building. And then when they built the new what's the center called? Oh shucks, yeah, the Brock Center, and we for a number of years went in, and but what we did at that time is we actually did, it was almost like a continuing ed class that we belonged to with the college, so that we could do our water aerobics there. And we did that for a good number of years until our instructor no longer was doing it. So that was, again, an asset that the college provided to the citizens, and just had us in the college mingling with students and just feeling like we were a part of the campus. It was a nice outreach. I enjoyed. So yeah, there's been lots of nice renovations. Now, on the other side of that, as a resident, I have to admit that that's work fun. On the other side of that, I have to admit that as the houses along Center Street have been taken over by the college, there's been a little bit of loss of neighborhood community with not having families in those homes anymore. Colleges, you couldn't ask for a better neighbor in terms of upkeep and, making things beautiful and all. But somehow or another, I have to admit that I do miss having families in those beautiful houses. So it'll be interesting to see now with the new plans for renovation that's going to go on at the college, what will happen. So hopefully we'll all work together on that one.
Do a lot of professors still live in the area?
I don't know about a lot. I know that Dr. Scanlon lives right down the street, so we have him there. I know that we certainly use the college professors a lot, as I mentioned before, as a resource that we contact when we want to know about specific things. I really don't know about currently. I certainly hear all the stories about, Professor so-and-so lived here, and, years ago. Some of the older ladies in our church were the wives of some of the professors at Randolph-Macon. And they have stayed in the area, and their husbands have passed on. So there's more retired. I seem to know more retired professors or their wives that are still in the area. But, current professors, I really don't know that I know them. So, no.
Tell me a little bit more about the Women's Club of Ashland.
Oh, I am blessed to be a part of that group. I was thrilled to death when I got my invitation, because that comes out of the blue. You have no idea that you're even being considered. So I had never really thought about being a part of that group, but I knew people who were. So when the invitation came, I was excited. And once, October comes, our Tuesdays become sacred to us, and we know where we're all going to be at 4 o'clock on, Tuesday afternoons. It is so exciting to go in and hear these papers on the various topics. And then it is amazing how sometime within the next 6 months, what you've heard about at your woman club's paper will turn up in the news, or you'll come across something on television. It all becomes even more relevant to you because you've had the paper, and it's just serendipitous. It just happens that way. I like the fact that even though I stress out over it, I like the fact that it stretches me to do the research and pick a topic and learn about something that I didn't know about beforehand but picked my interest, or share something that I love. My last paper was on hiking in Switzerland, and so you can do the things that you love, like wanting to share your pictures about hiking. But if you're going to present it to the Women's Club, you got to take it deeper than that and make it more meaningful. So I did a lot of research on the history of Switzerland itself, and the political atmosphere and the growth of the country and how it came to be a country, and learned some interesting tidbits about that country. And it wasn't until the 90s that women were allowed to vote and hold office in Switzerland. So being a part of that group is just fantastic. And it has ladies in it that I might not see otherwise, or might not have had the opportunity to get to know if I were not part of that group. So that's an added blessing that goes along with it. So fantastic group. Yeah.
What are some of your favorite papers that you've either written or heard?
Oh my goodness! Now you're asking for memory, which memory is not really good. There have been so many over the years, and it is amazing. I'd have to sit down with a list of topics and start picking things out. But there have, I've certainly recently this year, enjoyed Nancy Hugo's paper that dealt with the book that she's currently writing on trees, the outstanding trees in Virginia. That was how she went about the project, and the writing of the book and all was interesting. She also did a paper, this was not long after I joined, that she did a paper on the trolley, the old Ashland trolley system from Richmond to here, and that was fun to learn about that history. So pretty much any of them that have historical bits, because I started out as a history major. I love learning about that. We've had papers on people that I didn't even know about in history, and then find their lives to be so intriguing, and also how special and interesting people are. So that's what comes out in a lot of the papers when people do them on people. You're asking for particular topic names, and I'm just drawing a blank because they're all fantastic. I remember Susan Tucker did one on buoys, and who would have thought that would have been interesting? But it was. There's always a twist to the paper, and something that you learned that you didn't know before. So it's pretty good.
Sarah Wright told me that one day she just opened up her dictionary and picked a word, and it was circus. So she wrote about the circus.
And I believe it's Sarah who said that there is no topic that you can't make a woman's paper over, and that's a perfect example. And Sarah is a wonderful example to all of us. That's another thing. I am just always amazed, not amazed, that's the wrong word, always delighted by the breadth of the women in the Women's Club. Not only their interest, but their knowledge and their experience. It's pretty outstanding. So for little old me, who has very little talent at anything, to be part of that group, it stretches me.
Do you have a stationary meeting place, or do you meet somewhere else every Tuesday?
Generally, we meet at the Ashland Library. And only if there is an election or a tea or something like that do we meet somewhere different. But we always know about that in advance. And our topics are set during the summer so that our yearbook is put together. Every once in a while, it's kind of funny that we'll do someone will pick a topic and then they'll go to do the research on it and then get off on another tangent and totally change what they're writing their paper about from what they thought. But most of the time we stick to the topic that we've picked in the summer, or something related to it anyway. But it's fun once the research started to see where you actually end up.
Tell me some more about your yearbook.
Oh, the Ashland yearbook that's being done. Well, as I said, the original idea was from Betty Carroll Stevenson, and we looked at it as just an opportunity to have a real snapshot of Ashland in 2008. And it's been fun as we've tried to advertise, to everybody and have everybody participate. I know Susan was, I often heard her say to people, even if you've only been here 3 days, you can be part of the yearbook. So it could have been 1 day even. But we've heard from people who have been far, far away. I know a lot of research went into getting old class listings so that we could send information to people asking them to participate. And, you can pretty much write your story however you want to approach it, and I think it's going to be wonderful. I think it's going to be entertaining. And like I say, I was a history major once, and so as a historian, I think 50 years from now, people are going to look back and say, weren't they smart to do that? What a treasure we have here. The yearbook is made up of not only the family stories, but the stories of the organizations that are in and around town. It's been fun because I've heard from some of the organizations talking about how neat it was to get the group together and take the picture, and so all the people who are in the organization in 2008 will be remembered in that photograph. I loved the idea of having anyone who had lived in Ashland more than 50 years to get together over at Randolph-Macon on the bleachers and have their photograph taken. There's a history of the schools. There's history of the churches. So we've really tried to reach out in as many ways to as many people and provide them, the opportunity to tell their story. It's going to be neat.
Does the college have a lot of involvement with the planning for this?
Particularly in the oral history part, the college has been, they've been instrumental in getting this project for the oral history up and running and having you students involved and providing the leadership, the knowledge, and even the equipment to help us get this all going. I don't think that the oral history project could have happened certainly not as easily if it had not been for the participation of the college. Billy Raines from the college has also been involved on the 150 committee, so there's been that connection there. And, they're having their part to write their bit in the yearbook as well. So, yeah, because Randolph-Macon's part of Ashland.
I'm interviewing Billy Raines on Thursday.
Oh, fantastic. She's wonderful. Yeah, I'm sure she'll have lots of neat, interesting things to tell you.
What does it feel like to live so close to the railroad?
Oh,
Especially the
well,
tracks.
yeah, I love having the train, go through Ashland. And it certainly defines the community of Ashland because we're very proud of it. And I do have to go around and rearrange my pictures on the wall every so often, and in the summertime in particular, or early or spring, when you have your windows open, boy, you can really hear the train then. And those are the times when I'm lying in bed at 2 o'clock, I'm thinking, this train is going on forever. Is it, how long is it? Is it ever going to end? Because it is truly a lonely, long sound that goes on the train in the middle of the night in spring and summer. But I like having the train so close. I do know that if I hear the train whistle and I want to leave and be on the other side of the tracks, that if I hustle out of the house and jump in the car, I can get across the tracks before the gate's even close to coming down. But when I hear that whistle, I react. So, it's always fun to wave, to the train going by. And we like to ride the train to Washington. We've gone up for Elder Hostel. We'll do these wonderful one-day seminar things from led by the Foreign Service Department, and a number of us will participate in those classes and ride the train on up to Washington and then get off on the metro and then come back, generally having had dinner or at least a glass of wine at Union Station before we catch the train back to Ashland. One really neat thing about the train is when my daughter had applied to the University of York in York, England, to do graduate work, and in order to be part of the application process was an interview. So we had to go over in February of the year that she wanted to go. We had to go over in February for that interview, and we were flying out of Baltimore. And my husband said, I don't mind taking you all up there, but I really don't want to have to drive up to Baltimore to bring you back. So we said, okay, what we'll do is we'll ride the train. And it works nicely because you go out of the train station and you get on a bus and it takes you to the airport. Well, when we flew back from England, there had been about 10 inches of snow. And I was thinking, even if I had driven my own self up there, I would have never been able to find my car. All the cars were just white lumps. You wouldn't have been able to distinguish a car. But we were happy. We rode the bus, we got on the train, and we're coming home. And we get to Washington, where they changed the engine for some reason, and it took them extra length of time to do so because things were frozen and cold and all this other kind of stuff. But the train was to stop here in Ashland and let us off, which is such a blessing. I mean, it's just one of the joys of having the train in town. And my husband was going to meet us. It was to meet us there. And I called him. The train conductor said, I told him, I said, my husband's meeting me today. He says, well, go and just, call him and let him know that you're going to be a little bit late. Well, I did. But he went up, he thought he had waited long enough, and he went up and stood in the snow, and he's standing there by the train tracks, and this Amtrak train is coming. And he says, but he's looking at it, and it's not slowing down, and it goes past him, and then suddenly you hear the brakes go on, and just the last car stops right there in front of him, and the conductor says, are you waiting for somebody? He said, yes, I'm waiting for my daughter and my wife. And the conductor says, what are their names? And Charlie says, Ann Martin. And the conductor yells it through the train and to the other ones on there. No Ann Martin on the train. And then he said, the conductor says, I bet she's on the one that's coming behind us. It'll be another 45 minutes. So sure enough. But Charlie said he felt like he had all the power in the world. There he was standing out there, and he stops an Amtrak train. So it's as I said, it's just wonderful to have the train right here in town. So.
Has any interesting characters stepped off the train?
Oh, I have a little story. This was, it wasn't long after the Henry Clay Inn was built. Our next door neighbors, the other Martins, Carol and Ray Martin, they are the ones responsible for having the inn built. And we helped them a little bit with when they were, putting the furniture in and all that kind of stuff, being neighborly, doing the things that we could to help. But I can remember one beautiful fall day sitting out on the porch there at the inn, and a freight train goes by, and you have to picture the cars going by, and then how you have when they have the trailers from the trucks on it, and it has that pole that comes down on the front that would normally attach to the truck to be moved. Well, sitting underneath that pole was in Buddha fashion, or maybe Indian chief fashion was more like it, was a hobo riding the train. And I looked at him and I thought, oh my gosh, how long is he going to have to ride? You know, just sitting there under that. So that was an interesting thing. Needless to say, there have been other interesting events, some not so good, where, you know, someone would get hit. I remembered a gentleman that walked through a stop train when it moved, and in that time, and he lost his legs. And we had an accident just a week or so ago where a car was hit. People, well, in this particular situation, I don't know if you heard the story already about that one, but it was somebody who had imbibed a little bit too much, and he had tried to go across the tracks, but not at the place where there was an actual road. So his truck was stuck on the tracks, and the train hit it. Fortunately, he had gotten out long before the train came. So that just kind of tied traffic up for a good while and made it difficult for people to get across the tracks. But, you know, that's part of being in Ashland, living in Ashland, on one side of the train tracks or the other. You know, you'd have problems getting back and forth. But there have been times when people have gotten off the train wanting to go somewhere outside of Ashland and realized there's no way to get anywhere. And we picked up a little lady one time who wanted to go to the campgrounds outside of Ashland, and we took care of getting her where she needed to go. But we walk in the morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's amazing to see how many people are standing out there waiting for the train. So it's quite an asset.
Do you know anybody who works for the station?
Who actually works for the station? No, I mentioned my neighbors, the Martins next door. Ray is a train aficionado. He is the one that really loves trains, actually moved to Ashland because the train tracks were here, wanted to build the Henry Clay Inn so that he could have his offices upstairs overlooking the train tracks. And but before that happened, before he had his office here, his corporate offices was in Bethesda, Maryland. So he would ride the train back and forth every day to Bethesda. And so needless to say, he got to know the conductors on the train really well. And I remember on one of my trips coming down from Washington, maybe I'd been even further north, I can't remember, but we were talking with the conductors, and sure enough, they all knew Ray. And I think actually the train was supposed to go all the way, I was supposed to go all the way into Richmond, but they said, no, we'll stop in Ashland and let you off. So they did, but I don't think they do that anymore. At least we tried to get them one other time when we were coming from New Jersey, and they were like, nope, got to go all the way to Richmond. We can't stop in Ashland. But anyway, that was fun. Yeah, so I don't know anybody personally, but surely through Ray, have got to meet some of the conductors who knew him.
Tell me some more about the Henry Clay Inn.
Oh, well, I guess you know the history of the old Henry Clay Inn and the fact that it burned back in the 40s. And so the town and the citizens were really, really excited when the Martins, and they put together a group that would, make the rebuilding of the Henry Clay Inn possible. Now, of course, the new one is not on the same site that the old one was on, but that was not available. But it's just a half a block down the street from where the old one was. And the outside is a pretty accurate replica of what the old Henry Clay Inn looked like. And of course the inside is modern and all. And it's a country inn, which is very interesting because there's no staff person there at night. Guests get to have a key to let themselves in and out of the inn at night. And the doors are locked at a certain time, and then after that you have to use your key to get in and out. Of course, they have complimentary breakfast, and they originally, this is a little interesting tidbit, originally when they were deciding on how they were going to do the inn, they were not going to put a restaurant in it. But Dick Gillis was alive at the time, and he was the mayor of Ashland. And he mentioned to the Martins, he said, well, certainly you all going to have a restaurant, because, boy, I remember having fried chicken at the old Henry Clay Inn, and that was one of the traditions. So the Martins rethought the thing and decided that they would, in fact, put a restaurant in it. And for a number of years, fried chicken at the new Henry Clay Inn was really a staple. But they've certainly expanded and changed their menu to have all kinds of things now. It's also a wonderful place to have wedding receptions, and I guess I could do an advertisement, as well as I work, and my particular job, the company that I work for provides teachers throughout the state. And once a year, we come together in what we call an all-area meeting, and we always have it at the Henry Clay Inn. And my teachers love to come there. It's just a wonderful facility, and for the number of people that we have, it works just beautifully.
Do you have any special stories about any of the other businesses here?
Oh, special stories about businesses. We've seen the businesses come, and it's different from when I used to come up and just visit Ashland. I can remember actually coming up and shopping. I don't even now, not being an old-time resident, I wouldn't have known what that department store was, but I do remember that I used to love to come and shop there. Before I met you today, the ladies I was with, we had just returned from the ice cream shop. So the club car is a place that we like to go for our summertime ice cream. It's wonderful to see those type of retail shops in Ashland. It's good to have the buildings occupied downtown, but I wish we had more retail. So many of our buildings are occupied by office space and things like that. So, but I do remember years and years ago, before the club car, that we used to have a Highs, and that's where the Randolph-Macon Welcome Center is now. You used to have a Highs ice cream store, and that was always a popular place. You could actually get a full meal as well as your ice cream and whatever. I don't know, there are too many Highs ice cream stores left. Somewhere in Virginia, I think there's some, but not too many around. But that was always a favorite place to go. Really, those places that we have. Oh, I remember Suzanne's was always a place that brought us up to Ashland before we actually moved to Ashland, and before she ever had any other little satellite shops around the city. So she was that was a remarkable concept, and I often tell people you get the best and the most healthy fast food from Suzanne's that you can get anywhere. So her concept of having that counter and ordering your food that way has really worked quite nicely.
Do you think expansion is threatening local businesses?
I'm not quite sure what you mean by expansion. You mean
like new stores? Like I know they're building a Bass Pro Shop.
Oh, well, I'm not the type of person that likes to shop in big box stores. Mm-hmm. So I tend to go and to support my local stores. I do know that it's more difficult because the economy is tight. People are looking to save every penny that they can save, and so it does draw them to the bigger stores. And they do offer more, and you can get your, I guess, kind of your one-stop shop. And sometimes I have to look around different stores before I find actually what I want. But, the thing that I look at the Bass Pro and I just look at that interchange and I'm thinking, that interchange can't handle too much traffic, and so I'm disappointed there because it means that's going to impact the rest of us negatively as we have to deal with the extra traffic at an interchange that's inadequate. But I think Bass Pro probably more affected by Green Top than anything we actually have in Ashland. I know a lot of people that will go to Walmart. I wouldn't have gone to Walmart no matter where it was. Just because of the big box theory, I think you don't need to be that big a retail giant in the world. So I'm kind of opposed philosophically to that. I'd love to save my pennies, but not there. But how Lowe's is going to affect us when it finally comes next to Luck Motor Company, that I think it may really hurt things. We have some wonderful little nurseries in the Ashland, Hanover area that I frequent a lot, and I think they may take a hit from the expansion with Lowe's. My husband, a weekend is not complete if he hasn't visited Ace Hardware 2 or 3 times. We're not even in Ashland, but so much time because we're always at the farm. But somehow or another, he gets to get in 2 or 3 visits to the hardware store. So it certainly won't change his habits, but I don't know that the hardware store again will not be hurt a little bit by the Lowe's. So we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see.
So, what is there to be done for fun in Ashland?
I'm sorry.
What is there to be done for recreation in Ashland?
What is there for recreation in Ashland? Well, one of the things that you see a lot of in Ashland is walking and riding bicycles. It would be, and when I'm thinking of the bicycle riding, I'm thinking of the citizens of Ashland. I mean, that didn't even say anything about all those wonderful people who come to Ashland who are cycle enthusiasts from around the area and around the country. We are the crossroads of the 2 bicycle lanes, north, south, and east and west. So we are at that juncture, and people will actually come to Ashland for that very reason. So cycling is a major interest for everybody. Like I say, walking. If you get out in the morning, you see people not only walking their animals, but walking for exercise. And the pool in the summertime. Of course, we have the YMCA. We have their pool, as well as what we call the wet Y, where the pool is, and the dry Y, which is over in the shopping center. But I know that the Fun Drive to expand the wet Y and put everything all over in one facility. That project is underway to raise those funds, so that'll be happening soon. It's been neat in that the town pool and the Y have each filled their own niche, and they've not really been not for me, have certainly not been in competition. I take nephews who live in a different county to the town pool in the summertime for them to swim, and yet I'm a member of the Y as well. And like I say, I was a member of the committee when we had the town pool built. I was also on the board of the Y when that was going on. So, because my belief too is that Ashland and the environs are going to continue to grow, and that we must have the facilities that will handle the increase in growth. And I also believe that we need to continue to set aside land for future parks, because if it isn't saved now, if it isn't targeted that this is going to be a park, then down the road we won't, 50 years, 100 years from now, there won't be enough space available for people. So we have to think about that now. People play tennis, but we're fortunate in that the college allows people, when it's not in use by students, for people to go use the tennis courts over there. And so recreation-wise, I guess, the parks are pretty much it, and whatever amenities they offer there at the parks. But we're also blessed in that not only are we town citizens, but we're residents of Hanover County and taxpayers of Hanover County, so we can extend our recreational opportunities into the county with their wonderful parks. And they do a lot. Although we have the baseball fields, and we have the different leagues that go on, both soccer and baseball, that go on through the auspices of the town during the summertime. Haven't had anybody in that age group, so I'm not really as involved with that, but I do know all that happens. So
What are the main gathering places in Ashland?
the main gathering places, to me, one of the places where the most activity goes on is the Ashland Library. How fortunate we are that they decided to locate that library right in downtown Ashland, because it is a magnet. Not only the different programs that they offer that augments just books and everything, but it is a central place where people are always going in and out. And now, as a result of the Plaza Committee, the Ashland Library has certainly been amended to look, I think, very beautifully, with the plaza that's there and the globe fountain. And I was just up there today because I was at the ice cream shop, and we finally gotten the picnic tables in place so that people can go take their lunch and sit outside, read their books. We've added the trash can and a couple of benches. So that has come along quite nicely. And then, of course, we've opened up the commemorative bricks sale again. We were only going to sell so many bricks, and we did that. But people have been coming to us and say, "Oh, I really wanted to buy one of those bricks to go be laid there at the plaza." So we've opened that opportunity up to the citizens again, so they can do that. I was a member of the Plaza Committee, so that's another near dear thing to my heart that has taken well. And I must admit, I'm going to mention this because I think everybody should take note of it, and I hope that it'll be there for future people to see as well. But I was showing my friends that I was with earlier that if you're headed north on 95 and you get off the interchange that will bring you into Ashland, if you look into that field in the first part of June, you will notice that sea of daylilies that's there. And all I can say is it took many years of nagging the town not to allow VDOT to cut that field, that we finally have it in its full glory that it is today. It's beautiful. So if you haven't seen it, go by and see it. Spectacular. Spectacular. That's a little aside. That doesn't relate to anything except maybe flowers and recreation.
What do you feel about Ashland being coined as the center of the universe?
Oh, well, it's certainly the center of my universe, and I think it's a nice, catchy little phrase, and it always brings the smile to anybody's lips once they hear it. And to conduct a meeting and say, "Welcome to the center of the universe," is a nice way to get a meeting going, which I've done that a number of times. And I also think that Betty Carroll found out later that one of the Ashlands found out about our motto, and they are using it too, although I think that we have the trademark on it, so I don't know about the propriety of that. But anyway, I think it's neat, and Dick Gillis did us a wonderful thing when he came up with that phrase.
What do you think is the most important for people living in this neighborhood and in Ashland in general?
What is most important? Now, I would say that somehow or another, if we can continue to preserve, and I don't know how you do that, but to preserve the feeling of a neighborliness, the quality of life that we have, because we still have that small town atmosphere where you really do know your neighbors. If you don't know that neighbor directly, you certainly know somebody who does know that neighbor really well. So we are a close-knit community. And I know communities everywhere are like that, but there's something really, really special about the feeling of that identity of being part of Ashland and the uniqueness that we have still being small town. Whether that's just fantasy in our heads, I don't know, but it's a nice fantasy. And we believe it. And so to me, preserving that, trying to not let Ashland grow too much, too quickly. Growth is going to happen, but I really believe in managed growth. And so we need to be wise as we make the plans for the future, and with our comprehensive plans, with whatever ordinances we pass. You know, with growth comes changes, and you know, we can't continually say, well, it used to be this way, because things do change, and so it's changing gracefully, I think, is one of the things that's really important for Ashland to do.
Is the town council very concerned with that?
I think this town council has been. I know it's been one of the major issues, because there has been so many pressures from not only inside the town, but from even the county, in terms of the potential for just massive growth and not being, you know, the infrastructure not there to be able to handle it. And I know that this town council has been very aware and has articulated those concerns. The problem is that while they're doing that now, and they're putting into place some things that will hopefully address some of the inadequacies that we have in some of the our ordinances or whatever, you know, that's in the future, and it really doesn't stop what you would rather not see happening from happening right now.
I know the Strawberry Fair just took place.
Yeah.
Could you tell me some more about that?
Well, that's a major event for the town of Ashland in terms of the number of people that are involved and the number of people that it brings to the town. Now, that was begun before I arrived in Ashland. It's been going on longer than my tenure in Ashland, but it was begun by a committee that was associated with the Hanover Arts and Activities Center, and they were the sponsoring group and just did all the planning and everything, and it's just a wonderful event. It's been funny. It's been fun to watch the evolution of the spots. I remember the first time that I came to the Ashland Strawberry Fair prior to my moving here, the fair was actually on the football field at Randolph-Macon. And then after I moved here, it had moved to underneath the trees there in front of the chapel. And that was a lovely, lovely area, cool and nice. But that many people tramping on the grounds, I think, was a little stressful for the habitat and for the college. And so now we're out on the street going around, you know, on College Avenue and on Henry, and that's working. It's not as comfortable as being under the trees, but it certainly is adequate, and it's a nice compromise. This last Strawberry Fair was most unusual. We always have it hot, but we don't always have it as hot as over 100 degrees. So I think that we didn't have the crowd this year, or possibly people's interest in buying was not as great. I know mine wasn't. By the time I had worked all morning underneath a tent, all I wanted to do was go home and get some ice cold water. But it is a wonderful event, and again, it shows the cooperation between the college and the town and the citizens to make this event happen. And it takes all people working together to make it happen as it does.
Which tent did you work under?
Oh, well, this year I worked under the town's tent as we were sharing information on the sesquicentennial, and particularly the yearbook was what I was passing out additional information, as you know, making sure people, if you haven't bought your yearbook yet, don't forget to do so. And we have gift certificates for those who would like to present that to a family member or whatever at Christmas or a birthday or whatever. So that's where I worked.
I'll have to go to that one time because college students are gone when it takes place.
Oh, It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, and there's something there for everyone. You know, not only the vendors selling all their beautiful wares, but there's lots of information. Church groups are there. I know Duncan Memorial had a bake sale, a backyard sale, a book sale, and that. Besides the entertainment, the center stage that's going on, the groups from throughout the community who participate by sharing their talents on the stage is always fun. I felt really sorry for those gentlemen all dressed up in their kilts playing their wonderful bagpipes on that 100-degree day, but they were stalwart and they did a beautiful job. Yeah.
So, what do you think makes Ashland so special?
I guess it all comes back to, well, that's the people for sure. Yeah. Those who choose to live in Ashland probably choose, most of them would be, choose to be here for those same reasons that I articulated of the small town atmosphere. The fact that you are able to be involved in your community and have close associations with your neighbors. The schools are good, you know. And the other thing about it too is, you know, I mentioned maybe briefly in one of the other questions, the diversity. I think that's really, really important. You know, you have a cosmos here, and it's not like you go into West End Richmond and it's all so homogeneous. You know, Ashland's really neat in that we have everything, and it's great.
So, have relations always been good economically and racially?
You know, you're always working on things to make things better. But I think the nice thing is that there is pride and respect on all sides among all people, and that any problems that we've had, we've recognized that they've been problems, and you know we've wanted to change them, and you know. There's always somebody out there who feels differently, but I think for the most part, if there have been times when there's been hard feelings, I don't know that the reason for the hard feelings originated because somebody wanted to be spiteful. It was more just maybe thoughtless and or whatever, but not out of any malice. And I think relations are really good. You can certainly look at the diversity that we have on our town council and have had for the last few years, and that takes a cross section of the community supporting you know, the members in order to make it possible for them to be elected, so that it crosses all lines, you know, socioeconomically, racially, you know, gender-wise, whatever. And yeah, that's another thing I really like about Ashland, going back to that diversity part, is because we do work well together. I know that there are those who sometimes will voice their discontent that they feel sometimes that segments of the community are isolated. But I honestly feel, and I might be wrong, I honestly feel it's more from the other, whoever it is that's feeling that they're not included, is because they've excluded themselves by not attempting to be part of it. You know, if you want to be part of something, then you have to make an effort as well. You can't always expect to be begged to be part of it. You've got to make that effort, and you know. So, and I think Ashland's pretty responsive in terms of saying yes, come on.
And the organizations probably represent the opinions of the different groups as well.
I think so. You know, I say this about diversity, and I think back on the groups that I actually belong to, and there's not as much diversity there, and that comes from, I think, just paths not crossing. It's not that anything is done to exclude anyone. It's just that nobody really thinks about it, and it's only when you make those special efforts. I know in our church, And the fact that at our farm we have church day camp and have been doing it for, like I say, over 40 years, we have diversity there. And it wasn't always, but it's just because neighborhoods have started to be more diverse, and therefore the children who participate, are diverse. And so it's been fun to watch that and see all the kids get along, and there's never any exclusion. We've had other opportunities in the church where we've joined together. I can remember, and we're not doing it, at least Duncan's not being a part of it. At one time, 3 of the churches, Union, no, not Union, Shiloh, Duncan Memorial, and I want to say St. James the Less, we would do annually getting together where we would meet at one of the other churches, and we'd have a meal together, and preaching and singing, and the choirs would be blended together. And it was just making that special effort to go into somebody else's space. And that was fun. That was a lot of fun. And I don't know why Duncan's not doing it anymore. And I don't know if St. James the Less and Shiloh are still doing that or not, but we did that for quite a few years, and that was good. That was good. I don't know if I answered that entirely, but in terms of, you were asking about organizations, I'm thinking about the Kiwanis Club. They're letting some ladies in. I can remember one time, as a little aside here, I can remember years ago when we were making the plans for Puffer Belly Park, and I went as the member of the committee and presented the meeting at that meeting that night, what our plans were, what we hoped to do. I did the whole presentation, and my husband came along, and he was the man that was handling my props. When the meeting was over with, those men asked him if he wanted to be a member of the Kiwanis Club. Didn't ask me. Wow. And I looked and I said, "What, am I chopped liver? What is this?" And then they were like, "Oh, no, and all this stuff." Well, it's interesting to know they do now have a number of women in the Kiwanis Club, but it's interesting, my husband is now president of the Kiwanis Club this year. So they did get the better deal, and that they got a future president. But no, I have enough of my own committees I belong to. I certainly didn't need another one. But anyway, just fun.
So is he involved in anything else in the town?
In the town, let me see. He has been a part and chairman of the Economic Development Authority, the EDA. And I'm trying to think any other town committees he's been on. He's certainly, anything I've been on, he's been right there with me. He's been on a number of things at church. He does those type of things. As a banker, he quite often gets asked to be treasurer of different organizations. And then this year, he's president of the Kiwanis Club. So.
I'll probably have to interview one of their members sooner or later.
Good. Okay, well, there's a lot of gentlemen that have been apart for years and years and years and years, and then they're the newer members as well, so I'm sure it'd be different perspectives. But it's nice to see that membership is growing again, and of course, they're wonderful, and they'll tell you all about the activities that they do. Not only did they make Puffer Belly Park possible, but the Christmas parade would not happen if it were not for the Kiwanis Club. And their big fundraiser is their barbecue sale that they have. And for Ashland Strawberry Fair, they always do a pancake breakfast beforehand, so you can have breakfast before you go to the Strawberry Fair. And they have a tent there as well, and then have lots of other activities that they do. So you'll find out from them.
Okay, is there anything you would like to add, or any extra additional stories?
Oh, I don't know. I wish I had some really good stories. I mean, just everyday life in Ashland is good. It's fun. There are so many different ways that you can participate, but I guess that's true in every community. We have a group of us that get together on Saturday mornings here in the neighborhood, And there are 4 of us in particular, myself and Bernadette Winters and Barbara Howard and Gwen Huntsinger. And this group began because we wanted to lose weight. Well, and we figured that we needed the support of one another in order to make this happen. We get together on Saturday mornings, and we're really good because all we ever have is a cup of coffee or a glass of water, nothing fattening or anything. And we talk about losing weight for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then we're on to whatever's going on, at the time. But we're called it's a Saturday morning coffee talk, we call it. So we talk over coffee. But we've been doing this for probably 5 or 6 years now, and I've probably lost about 3 pounds, so it's helped. Oh, I don't know what else goes on around town. There are lots of bridge groups that are around, so anybody who's interested in playing bridge, I'm sure you could find one for whatever time of day or day of the week that you were interested in playing. Also, it's fun. Oh, one thing to go back to the college too, because I was thinking about garden clubs. Garden clubs have contributed a lot to the town. I can remember my first out of the country abroad trip. And when I came back, I was so excited about all the flowers and everything that I had seen. And I was, at that time, a member of Town and Country Garden Club. And I said, ladies, we need to start doing things in our community. We need to enhance Ashland and make it more beautiful. So one of the first projects that we had was Mary Claire Coster and I went down to the Williamsburg Pottery, and we bought, is it 4 pots? The 4 pots that are there in front of the train station. And so we brought those up, and the garden club planted them, and I planted them every year for a couple of years, and had to go up, carry the water and water them and everything. But now the people at the visitor center take care of doing that. And then we've established some other gardens around town. So we've really tried to have spots that have been enhanced as a result of the garden club activities. Also, the pots that are there in front of Taylor Floors, the garden club paid for those, and we planted them for a number of years. And where I was going with the college is they have their Making a Difference Day. And a good friend of Reba Dunkel, Reba and I have served on a number of committees together. And through his major efforts, and whoever else is on that committee, and I know it's more involved than I even know about, but through that, the college students have really taken over and picked up from what the garden clubs did. And they do a lot of plantings. They now, I know, planted the pots there in front of Taylor Floors, as well as some other spots. We got that little tiny flower bed begun at the visitor center, and it was that year, that was my first year, where I may have been the first year of Making a Difference Day. And I worked with students. Reba got me involved in working with some of the students in what our particular tasks were going to be. And it rained that day. And it rained. And we were out there in the rain. And we were digging dirt and creating new beds and planting flowers. And I was just really pleased that the students stuck with it. They didn't whine about all the rain that was pouring down on them. And, that has just grown in terms of a project and the cooperation that the college students have and helping to make Ashland more beautiful. Really appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you very much.
You are welcome. I think that's about all I can think to tell you about.